The galaxy had always whispered of humanity in half-spoken myths, painting them as wanderers too reckless to survive their own ambition. Stories said they built machines that drank starlight, ignited suns, and folded gravity like cloth. Stories claimed that, in their final century, they vanished into the dark, leaving no ruins, no signals, not even a carved epitaph of their extinction, and yet, somehow, the myths persisted. In the quiet border of the Hellian frontier, beyond the outermost patrol lines, a single anomaly appeared, an artificial eclipse moving with impossible precision. The alien scouting vessel watched as a dark curve blotted out half a nebula, a shadow too smooth to be natural. Too enormous to be ignored, sensors strained. Algorithms flickered. Then, after a long moment of frozen disbelief, the ship's scanners returned a reading no one alive had ever expected to see, a structure the size of a small planet, forged metal. Artificial gravity. Layered hull plating measured in mountains, not meters. It rotated with slow majesty, its surface covered in scars older than the current galactic cycle. Weapons the size of cities slept along its equator, their barrels pointed into endless black. The crew stared in stunned silence as the object drifted further into the light of a dying star. Then they saw the emblem scorched across its armored skin, sharp lines, bold angles. A symbol once feared and admired across thousands of worlds, a human crest. The shockwave of that discovery spread faster than light. Empires scrambled, councils panicked, prophets chanted ancient warnings. Because humanity was not merely returning, they had built something monstrous during their centuries of absence. Something far beyond anything the galaxy understood. The planet-sized warship continued its silent patrol, moving with an eerie calm, as if searching for something hidden among the stars. No signals emitted. No broadcasts. No threats. Only a quiet hum, like a distant heartbeat, but the shock did not end there, when the scouting vessel retreated to a safer distance. The cameras caught faint reflections behind the giant warship, curved silhouettes emerging from the shadows. One. Then another. Then another. Dozens. Each one colossal. Each one armed with enough firepower to remake a solar system. Humanity had not built a single planet ship, they had built an armada, a fleet so vast, so precise, that their movements resembled a drifting constellation. The galaxy trembled as the truth crystallized. Humanity had not died out. Humanity had not fled in weakness. They had vanished to create something the rest of existence had never dared to imagine, a force powerful enough to challenge empires. A fleet capable of rewriting cosmic balance. A warning carved into metal and propulsion. But even as panic spread across star nations, the human fleet remained silent, observing, gliding, mapping the dark. Then, on a distant moon, deep beneath layers of frozen soil, something ancient stirred. A pulse, faint yet catastrophic in its implications. The human fleet halted as one, turning toward the signal with frightening synchronicity, as if answering a summons older than memory. The alien scouting vessel, overwhelmed by both awe and dread, watched as the fleet began to glow, tiny pinpricks along their hulls brightening like awakening stars. The humans were powering up, not for conquest, not for communication, but for something far worse, something coming. The galaxy did not yet understand the scale of the threat. But humanity did, and their planet ships were only the beginning. A tremor rippled through the void as the human fleet shifted into a new formation, each planet-sized warship aligning with precise, almost ceremonial elegance. Their glowing hull lines brightened, crawling across their surfaces like veins filled with molten light. Whatever signal had awakened them was more than a call, it was a warning buried so deep in space that only humanity seemed prepared to answer it. The alien scouting vessel remained motionless, dwarfed by the scale of the unfolding spectacle. Every sensor strained against interference pouring from the human fleet. Energy signatures surged high enough to warp telemetry, bending nearby starlight into distorted spirals. The humans had awakened their cores, reactors that surpassed anything the galaxy had built or even imagined. Then a vibration, subtle yet unmistakable, swept across the sector. The dying star at the center of the system dimmed, as if shying away from something unseen. Moments later, fractures of faint purple lightning flickered across the void, forming geometric patterns that stretched for thousands of kilometers. They were too symmetrical to be natural. Too precise. Too deliberate. The humans reacted instantly. Their main warship, the largest of the colossal giants, rotated its titanic superstructure toward the phenomenon. Towers of armor rose and locked into new positions. Vents the size of canyons opened, exhaling streams of superheated vapor. The vessel looked less like a ship and more like a mobile fortress the size of a continent, built for war on a scale that defied reason. As the lightning shapes expanded, the alien scouting crew felt a growing weight, as though invisible gravity pressed against their bones. Fear seeped into the cabin's recycled air. Something was forming out of nothing, pushing through the skin of reality with slow, determined pressure, but the humans weren't afraid. They were preparing. Deep within the planet ships, massive runes, etched during construction across kilometers of metal, flared with ancient brilliance. They weren't decorative. They were stabilizers, part of a system built to withstand forces normally reserved for collapsing stars. Humanity had learned them from something during their exile. Or perhaps invented them out of necessity. The cracks in space widened. The galaxy had no name for the thing emerging on the other side. The only word the alien scanners could conjure was mass. Ridiculous mass. Impossible mass. Enough to make planets quiver and moons shudder. The humans moved first, a single planet ship detached from the formation, gliding forward with the ominous grace of a drifting titan. Along its equator, an enormous ring began to spin, faster and faster, surrounded by arcs of contained plasma. The ship aimed its rotation toward the forming rupture and fired a beam unlike any seen before, thick, golden white, bending as it moved, cutting through space as if carving open the fabric of the cosmos. The blast slammed into the anomaly, space shook, the purple lightning scattered, but the fracture didn't close. It grew. Through it came a shadow so vast it swallowed whole starfields, a silhouette spanning hundreds of kilometers, its edges shifting like fluid darkness. It pressed through the breach, shaping itself into something between a creature and a collapsing star. The alien crew felt primal terror, but the humans stood unfazed. Their fleet shifted into a defensive cross pattern, locking every planet ship into an energy lattice. Their cores brightened. Their weapons warmed. An entire species that the galaxy thought extinct was preparing to fight a threat large enough to challenge existence itself. And the astonishing part was not that they were ready, it was that they had expected this day. The breach widened until the void creature's full form spilled through, an immense silhouette made of gravitational storms and collapsing light. Its body pulsed with rhythms that resembled both heartbeat and implosion, each contraction distorting spacetime like ripples spreading across a cosmic ocean. Stars flickered behind it, their light bending away as though afraid to touch the entity. The human fleet tightened formation with military precision. Planet ships rotated into interlocking patterns, generating a lattice of shimmering energy that crackled between them like a network of glowing nerves. What looked graceful from afar was, in truth, a shield system built on colossal scales, an engineering feat beyond the comprehension of any known species. For a moment, the two forces faced each other in silence, then the void beast struck. A wave of gravitational force slammed into the human lattice, folding the nearest asteroid belt into a twisting ribbon of molten debris. Moons fractured. Dust spiraled into glowing arcs. The shockwave rippled outward, and even distant stars trembled in their orbits. But the human shield did not break, it dimmed. It flickered. But it held. Inside the alien scouting vessel, disbelief turned to reverent silence. No empire in the galaxy, in all recorded history, had withstood such raw cosmic violence. Yet these planet-sized human warships bore the impact like steel giants bracing against the wind. The humans responded. A second human warship surged forward, its surface splitting open to reveal a rotating chamber of luminous crystal. Rings spun around it, building an energy field so bright it forced every camera to dim. A beam erupted from the chamber, thin, needle-like, but sharp enough to pierce gravity itself. It stabbed into the void beast's core. The creature recoiled for the first time, its body rippling like a wounded star. The shockwave of its pain twisted the battlefield, shredding small rocks into dust. But the humans pressed the attack, beams firing in synchronized bursts, each shot striking with surgical accuracy. The alien crew watched, breathless, as humanity revealed the truth. They had not simply built weapons of mass destruction, they had built instruments capable of cutting into the fabric of cosmic horrors. But the victory was short-lived. The creature's core dimmed, only for another, larger pulse to flare outward. The darkness around it thickened into tendrils, whipping forward like titanic lashes. One tendril smashed into a human planet ship, cracking a continental slab of armor and sending shockwaves tearing across its surface. Mountains of metal crumpled. Seas of nanofluid spilled into the void, yet the ship continued moving, refusing to drift, refusing to die. Another tendril lashed out, then another. Human planet ships lost stability, energy grids flickering as they absorbed catastrophic blows. But every time one ship faltered, another moved to brace it, absorbing the impact, redistributing the force through the lattice. It was not a fleet. It was a single, enormous organism, each vessel a vital cell in a larger, living defense. The void beast grew impatient, its core expanded, preparing a pulse that would collapse every object within an astronomical unit. A death wave. A reset. A cosmic erasure. The humans knew it. And they acted before the galaxy even realized what was coming. 3 planet ships detached from the lattice, drifting forward like sacrificial titans. Their surfaces lit with complex glyphs, markings burned into their armor during humanity's lost centuries. The glyphs began to glow white. Then blue. Then ultraviolet. They were charging something ancient, something forbidden, something that required ships the size of small worlds to contain. The abyss pulsed. The void creature pulsed back. The 3 human ships answered, their cores reaching critical brightness, trembling as though on the edge of ignition. The alien crew realized with horror exactly what the humans were doing. They were preparing to rewrite the battlefield, to tear open physics, to counter a cosmic erasure with something equally catastrophic, and they were ready to pay the price. The 3 detached human warships shuddered as their cores reached peak energy. Light poured from their hulls in arcs so bright it bent the surrounding starlight, forming a lattice of luminous threads connecting the ships. Every particle of space between them vibrated, humming with raw potential. The alien scouting vessel could only watch as the phenomenon grew, sensing that the energy radiated not just outward, but inward, into the very structure of the void creature before them. The creature recoiled, then advanced. Its tendrils lashing through the expanding light like storms of shadow, attempting to tear the lattice apart. Every strike collided with the human energy web, scattering sparks across the void. Small sections of the lattice buckled under the assault, but the human fleet adjusted instantly, planetary titans rotating, shields linking, creating new conduits for power. The lattice reshaped itself continuously, adaptive, intelligent, and unyielding. A pulse emerged from the void creature, a wave that compressed gravity and stretched time for any object in its path. The nearest human warship's hull groaned under the stress, yet instead of retreating, it accelerated forward, its shields flaring to absorb the shock. Energy arcs leapt from its hull to the lattice, stabilizing the formation like veins pumping life into a colossal organism. The pulse dissipated into nothingness, and the creature faltered for a fraction of a heartbeat. The alien crew could not comprehend the scale of what they were witnessing. The humans were fighting not with weapons alone, but with architecture, with physics itself. Each warship's movements were choreographed, not by orders, but by an intuitive understanding of cosmic mechanics. Time, gravity, and mass were instruments in their hands. Space itself had become a battlefield they could manipulate at will. Then the 3 core ships ignited, not with fire, not with explosion, but with a raw, radiant pulse that rippled across light years of empty void. The energy expanded outward in a perfect sphere, compressing and refracting starlight as it moved. The void creature writhed, unable to adapt fast enough. Its tendrils shriveled, its core flickered. Sections of its body fragmented into streams of collapsing matter. Space around it warped, twisted, and trembled. The rest of the human fleet pressed forward. Their colossal hulls now glowing with residual energy from the core pulse, they advanced in unison, forming a perimeter around the fractured void creature. Each ship acted as both shield and weapon, linking energy streams to amplify the destructive pulse. Containing what might otherwise have destroyed them all, the alien dreadnought trembled as debris and energy waves battered its sensors. The scouting crew realized the humans were not merely fighting, they were reshaping reality itself to hold the creature at bay. This was strategy beyond war, this was cosmic artistry executed with lethal precision, and still, the humans endured losses. One of the 3 core warships began to fracture under the immense strain, its hull peeling like bark from a tree, energy arcs sputtering wildly. Yet it held long enough for the lattice to stabilize, for the rest of the fleet to reabsorb its load. Every sacrifice was calculated, every risk intentional. For the first time, the alien crew felt it, a profound, unshakable reverence. These were no longer ships piloted by a species they had underestimated, they were living monuments of defiance, endurance, and unimaginable foresight. Humanity was not extinct. Humanity was perfected in patience, discipline, and strategy. The void creature's thrashing slowed. Its mass flickered, destabilized by the relentless, precise counterforce. And then, as one coordinated thought across the entire human fleet, the core pulse detonated fully, the void creature screamed in gravitational waves, its form unraveling under the overwhelming force, yet the human lattice absorbed and redirected the energy back into containment. Slowly, impossibly, the creature was held, locked within a cage of light, forced to confront a species that had returned stronger than legend, unstoppable in their precision, and unyielding in will. The galaxy watched silently, the void creature writhed, its fragmented mass straining against the human lattice, but every strike it sent was anticipated, countered, and absorbed. The colossal warships rotated in perfect harmony, channels of energy pulsing between them like the nervous system of a living organism. Each pulse reinforced the lattice, each maneuver redistributed weight and force, until the creature's thrashing began to slow, its strikes losing cohesion, as if realizing the futility of resistance. From within the fleet, smaller human vessels launched, darting like swarms of predatory birds. They wove between the titanic warships and the void creature's tendrils, delivering precise strikes at critical points. Explosions bloomed like miniature suns, dispersing dark matter and severing sections of the creature's appendages. Despite their size, these fighters moved with uncanny synchronization, guided by instincts honed over centuries of hidden preparation. The alien scouting vessel, still observing from a distance, recorded the events with a mix of terror and awe. Humanity had turned the battlefield itself into a weapon. Mass, energy, space, and time were no longer constants, they were tools wielded with deliberate mastery. What should have been impossible unfolded before their eyes, every movement of the fleet demonstrating calculated precision and devastating foresight. Then the human fleet shifted again. The 3 core warships, already strained near their limits, rotated to a new alignment. Light cascaded from their hulls, forming interwoven arcs that stretched across the lattice. The arcs intersected at multiple points, concentrating energy into nodes the size of continents. The void creature shuddered as the nodes pulsed in unison, releasing waves of kinetic and gravitational force that pushed the creature backward, tearing it from the breach and forcing it into containment. Energy arcs flared. Splintering, reforming, growing brighter and sharper with every cycle. The smaller human vessels continued their assault, drawing the creature's attention while the lattice tightened its grip. Each strike, each calculated sacrifice of fighters and smaller ships, funneled more force into the containment nodes, weakening the creature's form while leaving the fleet intact enough to maintain structure. A sudden resonance rippled through the alien dreadnought's sensors. The void creature's core, once a uniform pulse of dark energy, was fragmenting. Its mass flickered, destabilizing in real time under the relentless pressure of the human fleet. For the first time, the alien crew understood the scale of what they faced. This was not simply battle, it was a demonstration of will. Ingenuity and endurance stretched to cosmic proportions. The humans did not celebrate. Their fleet moved as one, silent and deliberate. Each vessel absorbed residual energy, redistributed shields, and recalibrated weapon systems. Losses were counted and accounted for, each sacrifice acknowledged with precision, ensuring the lattice remained unbroken. Even as sections of the core ships cracked and flickered under immense strain, the formation held, relentless and resolute. Finally, the containment reached critical stabilization. The void creature, massive and terrifying beyond measure, was restrained, its tendrils frozen, its form shuddering under the weight of human engineering and strategic mastery. The alien crew could do nothing but watch in awe, their species' assumptions about humanity shattered completely. The humans had not merely fought. They had dominated, not through brute force alone, but through a combination of sacrifice, precision, and a scale of planning that surpassed imagination. Humanity was alive. Humanity was prepared. And humanity had shown that even the galaxy's most incomprehensible threats could be held at bay. For the first time in centuries, the void was still. The lattice glowed faintly, humming as it absorbed residual forces, a monument to human ingenuity and defiance. The fleet drifted as one, battered but unbroken, guardians against a darkness no other species could have withstood. The galaxy realized a terrifying truth. Humans were not extinct, they had been waiting, and the war had only begun. The void creature's final pulse dissipated, leaving nothing but a distorted shimmer in space where it had loomed. The human lattice held, still glowing faintly, stabilizing as the fleet adjusted to the aftermath. Silence spread across the battlefield, broken only by the hum of surviving ships and the distant flicker of stars bent by the struggle. The alien scouting vessel drifted closer, scanning the remnants of the confrontation, unable to fully comprehend the scale or purpose of what it had witnessed. The three core planet ships, scorched and fractured, remained at the center of the lattice. Their hulls glimmered with residual energy, arcs of light tracing ancient geometric patterns across their surfaces. Smaller human vessels, though battered and scorched, hovered in formation, maintaining a perimeter of vigilance. Every vessel radiated quiet determination, a silent testament to the cost of their defense and the discipline required to achieve it. The alien crew realized the scope of what had just occurred. Humanity had faced a force that could have unraveled entire systems, and not only had they survived, they had restrained it. Their strategy was not mere combat, it was orchestration on a scale that spanned physics itself. Sacrifice, timing, precision, and foresight combined to form a defense no one else could have conceived. Deep within the fleet, the command nodes pulsed gently, and across the lattice, energy flowed to stabilize damaged ships. Human voices, measured and calm despite the ordeal, coordinated repairs, redistributed shields, and monitored the faint remnants of the void creature's presence. They did not celebrate. Their focus remained absolute. They had accomplished their purpose, but they understood the greater challenge remained: containment, vigilance, and preparation for whatever might follow. The alien scouting vessel, overwhelmed with awe, recorded the entire tableau. Hulls the size of continents, energy lattices stretching across space, crews coordinating with intuitive mastery, and the shattered remains of a cosmic predator restrained by sheer human ingenuity. It was no longer myth. It was fact. Humans had returned, not as a fading species, but as architects of power beyond comprehension. Gradually, the human fleet began to regroup, consolidating damaged vessels, recharging cores, and preparing to continue its patrol. They moved with deliberate grace, a living monument of defiance and endurance, each ship a fragment of a greater organism united in purpose. The void creature, restrained and fragmented, pulsed faintly as if acknowledging its captors. The humans did not lower their guard. Their vigilance was eternal. The alien observers understood finally that humanity had never been vulnerable, never fragile, and never forgotten. Their legends were warnings. Their absence a ruse, and their return a force capable of holding the galaxy's darkness at bay. And as the fleet drifted onward, silent and immense, the void itself seemed to bow to their presence, acknowledging a species that had endured, survived, and mastered the unimaginable.